Hello everyone, this is Pal Ponder on Weather. In this update, we've got a powerful low-level jet that'll bring all modes of severe weather, including an ice storm, heavy snow, plus high winds in its path. Good morning everyone, this is your March 5th update. And what we're taking a look at here is this powerful low-level jet that brought some pretty cold air off the west coast and the intermountain regions, and to the north of here they're getting some heavier snow that'll be breaking out. But to the south, that's what we have to be concerned about with some severe weather. It's going to be breaking out over the next several days. So we've got 3 hot spots as it moves across from west to east, but it's also going to be producing some flooding rains in its path as well. So if we take a look at the overall hazard index, it's pretty busy. I mean, we've got actually some much needed snow coming back for the Sierra Nevada here with those winter weather advisories in place, but we've got numerous winter weather advisories across the Intermountain West. That'll swing through portions of Nebraska, getting into South Dakota, as well as portions of central Minnesota. But look at this, that is an ice storm warning where they're going to be getting a quarter to a half inch of ice up here in parts of Wisconsin, and to the south where they've got the powerful low-level jet. Those are high winds that you're going to have to be concerned about, of those 40-50 mile per hour wind gusts racing across portions of Southern California as well as Arizona here. And to the south of here, it has it as that first short wave will be lifting upward. We're going to be getting some of those higher winds in portions of Iowa as well as Illinois and portions of Indiana. But man, we got a high wind warning in a portion, pretty much the entire state of Michigan here, as well as portions of New York. It's that powerful low-level jet will be swinging across. And to the south of there, they've actually expanded the severe weather threat for today, at least for the slight risk. So we could be looking at some stronger to severe thunderstorms, and really all 3 modes are definitely on the table up here in portions of Iowa. So if you live in Iowa, you definitely have to be under the gun later on this afternoon into the evening hours, into portions of Nebraska, heading up to Madison, Wisconsin, through Des Moines, all the way to Rockford, down into through Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and all the way down to the south side as well, extending into portions of Chicago as well as Milwaukee's for some of those stronger to severe thunderstorms, extending all the way as far south as portions into Kansas City as well. So let's take a look at the overall setup for tornadoes, because we're going to have to be definitely concerned about the areas going to be rotating. It does have a little bit lesser instability associated with it, but does have a lot of vertical shear. So the atmosphere will be rotating towards the end of the afternoon into the evening hours. So we definitely have to be concerned about tornadoes breaking out into portions of Des Moines, getting into Cedar Rapids, into Davenport, down towards Waterloo, as well as Iowa City here for those stronger possibly tornadoes that are isolated in nature that are going to be breaking out into Iowa. But it's still, you could be seeing a possible isolated tornado all the way extended into portions of Wisconsin here. So definitely be under the high alert this afternoon into the evening hours. So, but down to the south, let's take a look at the overall significant tornado parameter index, because yes, it has that threat in Iowa, but you notice it's fairly significant. So this area will be rotating, but down here further to the south in Missouri, we are going to be having a stronger cap in place. So hopefully this will limit the surface-based storms that could possibly be forming down here in portions of Missouri, extending into portions of Arkansas here. So we do have a stronger cap, but definitely don't let your guard down if this cap does weaken or especially just subsides altogether, because we definitely could be looking at that tornado threat being further south than what is implying at the moment. So let's look at the overall radar setup. By the time we get into that 6-7 o'clock tonight, we are going to be looking at that heavier snow breaking out where they've got those winter weather advisories and winter storm watches in place into portions of South Dakota. That'll be going into portions of Nebraska, basically just to the northwest of this low pressure system, right along the triple point here, and into the warm sector. The dew points are going to be well into the 50s. That's going to be creating that instability. So where you see these kind of storms and more or less sporadic in nature and those isolated storms, that is going to be one of the ones that's going to be a little bit more susceptible to seeing some of those storms to turn severe, and all modes of severe weather will be on the table. But further to the north, as you get towards Minnesota and as you get towards into the Wisconsin area, that those are should be just on the stronger side and less severe. But to the north of there, we're going to have to be concerned about that ice storm breaking out into portions of northern portions of Wisconsin here, going into the upper peninsula. So that's where they've got that ice storm warning in place. As we get into the overnight hours on Saturday, we do have sporadic storm development down here, probably not severe in nature, but still stronger storms going through Kentucky and portions of western Tennessee and heading into portions of Mississippi. But as we extend the view and we wait for that second short wave that'll be coming across and racing across from west to east, by the time we get into that late Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening time frame, we could have a new severe weather threat break out into portions of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, getting into, especially as you get into northeastern Texas, especially as you get into Arkansas here and southern Missouri, as well as western Tennessee, back into the Memphis area. We could be looking at all three modes of severe weather on the table, as well as that second short wave will be coming across, moving from west to east. And we look at some of the supercell composite indexed as we get into that 6-7 o'clock time frame. Yeah, the cap will be weakening by then, and we could be looking at some isolated supercells starting to break out in northeastern Texas, southeastern Oklahoma, especially as you get into Arkansas here and portions of western Tennessee. I think that's the initial setup of what could be the strongest severe threat down here. As we zoom in, we are going to be looking at a tornado threat as well. So we could be looking at still an isolated tornado threat with still a lot of vertical shear into play with that second short wave. So yes, an isolated tornado threat in and around the Dallas-Fort Worth area into northeast Texas, back into Little Rock, extended into Memphis. But if you live into Fort Smith, Arkansas, into Jonesboro, Arkansas, into Conway, back towards Russellville, you could be under the gun with a little bit more probability of seeing a possible tornado as we get into the late evening hours, really hinting towards the sunset and to be in between that 6 kind of 10 o'clock time frame. I think that's where we're going to be a little bit more prevalent. But let's take a look at the radar setup. By the time we get into that 9 o'clock time frame, we're down to the south where you see that kind of those isolated severe in nature. I think these will be one of the ones that could be a little bit more severe and turn to severe. But once you'd have a more of a compact cluster as you get into portions of central Missouri, I think these are going to be on the strong side and less severe side. But you're not going to be seeing tornadoes anymore into Iowa. That'll be transferred over to snow. And man, that's going to be some heavier snow breaking out into portions of southern Iowa here as we get into that kind of 9 o'clock time frame on Sunday evening. But as we extend the view and as that cold front, well, we got a powerful cold front that's going to be dropping from the north to the south. And as this cold front kind of more or less and gets induced into these storms, that'll be transferring, kind of eliminating more or less the severe threat and be kind of transferring it more into a kind of a damaging wind threat by then, as kind of a squall line will be racing across about 50 miles an hour in the middle of the night. So definitely could be looking at some big, stronger storms kind of waking you up in the middle of the night, because this is about 2 o'clock in the morning time frame, fishtailing all the way down through Dallas into central Texas, into northeastern Oklahoma here, into southern Missouri, with those stronger storms and just heavier rains breaking out into Illinois, into Indiana, and portions of Ohio, where that heavier snow will be transferring over into northern Chicago, Illinois here, and southern Wisconsin as we get into the overnight hours on that Sunday evening. But yeah, to the south, we got a pretty good significant kind of flood threat, because some of these could be training convective banding thunderstorms. So yeah, I mean, it's not out of the question. Some of these areas could pick up several inches of rain, and that could intensify the flash flood threat kind of really in the middle of the night. So definitely be on high alert for a quick downpours in these areas, especially if you live in northeastern, northwestern Arkansas here, and southern Missouri, and to southern Illinois, as well as southern Indiana here, with some of those stronger storms and kind of training convective banding into the overnight hours. So as we move through the overnight hours into that Monday time frame, just kind of you lose kind of the peak heating of the day. You just kind of a narrow banding will be breaking out all the way through, all the way fishtailing back through Louisiana, getting into portions of southern south Texas here, heading towards the Houston area, where that heavier snow will be extending further to the north, just kind of the northwest of those two systems. By then, the two short waves will be kind of catching up on each other. So now it's going to be kind of a more of a squall line type setup, with a northwest setup with that heavier snow into upper portions of Michigan here, going into southern portions of Canada. And yeah, that severe threat just kind of extends as we go deeper into the day on that Monday time frame. So now we're looking at places into Nashville, into Lexington, Kentucky, down here into Birmingham, into Knoxville, going into Huntsville, Alabama. Those are the ones that are going to be a little bit more susceptible to seeing some of those all three modes of severe weather. And then further to the south, getting all the way reaching down into portions of central, into Jackson, all the way extending into portions of Pittsburgh, could be seeing some of those kind of more, a little bit less severe threat as this will continue to race across to the east. But yeah, that just moves the flood threat along with it. So yeah, now the heavier rains will extend from Arkansas, extending all the way through Pennsylvania, get into northern parts of Jersey here, extending, getting into Connecticut and to Massachusetts, as well as PA here. But yeah, Kentucky should be inundated with some heavier rains into portions of Kentucky, as well as West Virginia and southern Ohio, as we get into the day on Monday. And then to the overnight hours on Monday night, heading into Tuesday morning, those two short waves will merge together. And by the time we get off the East Coast, the severe threat should be over by then. It'll just transfer over to some more moderate rain heading along the I-95 corridor and to the north of there into upstate New York, and getting into portions of Vermont, New Hampshire, as well, and so to Maine. We'll have the snow breaking out. But once this moves across, we do have significant changes. They're going to be coming back in the picture for that second week of March timeframe, because by the time we get into that, Wednesday, March the 9th, we got another powerful trough going to be digging across the west coast here into the central plains. That'll bring some very cold air coming back from Canada, especially for March standards. And I think as we just get deeper into next week towards Friday, Saturday timeframe, that cold air mass will just drop all the way down into the southern plains, bringing freezing temperatures back into deep south of Texas and to Louisiana, back into the southeast here. So definitely be on alert with probably, not just one, but probably two, possibly three freezes down here into portions of the southern plains here. But yeah, some definitely significant cold shot of Arctic air will be pushing southward, especially as we get into that Wednesday, deepening into the Friday, and extending eastward as we get into next weekend. But look at the upper air support. So it's got plenty of upper air support with it, with those very colder anomalies dropping all the way down into, even extending into portions of Mexico here. So that is a significant cold spell for the second week of March. Standards is definitely going to be on the table as we get into late next week into next weekend. And look at the graph. I mean, these are definitely well below average temperatures for a good chunk of the country, especially for the heart of the central plains and the northern plains, and that'll drop down all the way through the southern plains. And yes, as we extend the view and head towards the middle of the month, I think this colder air mass will just shift to the portions of to the northeast. But look at the rain. We got some pretty significant rains between now and next Saturday timeframe. All these red areas, those are multi-inch rains. So that's where they've got those slight risk for excessive rainfalls over the coming days. So definitely, if you live into the Tennessee Valley, getting into the Ohio Valley and portions of the Southeast, not only for that some of that severe weather threat, but also some of those flooding rains you're going to have to be contending with. And there's the high wind. So as these two powerful jets come across from west to east, it's going to bring a lot of heavier winds associated with it. So it's going to be a good swath of 40 to 50 mile per hour wind gust at times. And once you head up towards upstate New York and getting into portions of Vermont, New Hampshire, some of those areas that are under that high wind warning and watches right now, those could be upwards to portions of the 60 mile per hour plus range. So definitely be on the lookout for some of those higher wind gusts. And there's your snow swath with those multiple systems coming across with some heavier snows back into the Intermountain West. And as these systems come across, they'll be dumping some pretty good snow amounts in portions of Iowa, getting through Michigan. And then that second system, as it comes across for next week with some of that Arctic air, could bring back more snow for portions of Missouri, getting back into Indiana, more snow for portions of Ohio as well. And then that'll bring the heavier snows into portions of upstate New York and getting back into the Maine area as we end the next week. So hey, I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video and definitely leave your comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Catch the latest update where I protect you before and after storm.